Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. I am super excited because I finally found my favorite electric car. As you know, I have driven many cars, thousands of cars in fact over the last 30 years. But of all the cars I have driven the last little while, I think this is my favorite car. This is an IONIQ 6 from Hyundai, and it has some of the best design, best engineering, and from my perspective, the best value for your money. Let me give you 7 reasons why I think this is engineers' best electric vehicle. Welcome back. So this is by far my favorite electric car so far, and I'm going to give you 7 reasons why I think so. But before we do that, let's do our usual manufacturing quality check. As you know, I'm pretty finicky and picky about the way the cars are built together, and so I always do this audit first. I check for panel alignment, panel fit in terms of how big or small the gaps are, and I do the paint check as well. Now, in terms of the IONIQ 6, this is built in Korea, and I know that many of you guys are still a little bit skeptical about the quality of Hyundai or Korean products in general compared to Japanese, but I'm going to be really honest with you. As a manufacturing engineer, lately the products from Korea, especially Hyundai, are absolutely world-class to the point where they are better than some of the Japanese products, even including Toyota or Lexus models, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Well, first and foremost, Hyundai has done something very clever, kind of like following a Porsche Macan design, because this hood is a little bit of a clamshell design. It actually goes over the front fender to make sure that the gaps are not obvious, and because it kind of hides it. So you can tell that this goes over this, and it looks seamless. Now, despite that, I can still measure a little bit of a gap in here, and it's actually less than 2 millimeters. Can you imagine? I've never come across a car that has a gap that's less than 2.5 millimeter, maybe 3, but this one is less than 2. I can't even fit this tool inside this gap because it's so tight. But here it's pretty average, about 4 millimeters, so that's about average for Asian product. And it's actually pretty good here. It's 3.8 millimeters. And down here, I can't put this through the 2 doors, but it's about 3.7 millimeters and about 3.7 millimeters. So you can tell not only are the gaps narrower than most products sold in North America, but the thing I'm really impressed with is that it is very consistent. So if I put my hand between and among all the panels, it's perfect alignment. I can't even find a 0.1 millimeter difference in terms of panel height or alignment. And that's unheard of. You're not going to get this level of quality in most of the cars, like 99% of the cars. Even some of the Toyota products are not able to achieve this level of refinement and quality. This is definitely a Lexus level, and I think it's the one most impressive thing about all Hyundai products lately, but especially the ones that are built in Korea. You can tell in the back as well, the gaps are same thing here. This design is a little bit of an overlap type design, so the gaps looks like it's not even there. It's seamless. So excellent engineering design because it's a very clever design. And even between the plastic component and the metal component, the gaps are almost invisible because it's lower in the ground. So they spent a lot of time trying to figure out a way to maximize design and to minimize interruptions or anything that can detract from the overall beauty of the car. And so that's something very unique to this IONIQ 6. In terms of paint job also, very consistent. You can't tell if this is plastic or not because the paint matches perfectly. And when you look all the way from back to the front, the quality of paint is also first class. The actual gloss, the quality of the paint, the consistency are, you know what, again, as good as Toyota or Lexus. There are a fair amount of orange peel that I noticed all along here. That's pretty common for most of the Asian products, including Toyota stuff. And you know what? That's something that's a little bit different from, let's say, European products, which tend to have less orange peel. But the gloss and the clear coat is excellent. If you just look at the hood here, there's not a single defect. It looks fantastic. Honestly, the overall quality of the manufacturing in terms of panel alignment and the paint job is something that you would expect from a car that's costing 3 times as much as this one. So I'm very happy with that. Let's do a quick paint thickness check to see what the paint thickness might be. So the other thing I do to check for quality is to use a paint thickness gauge to figure out how thick the paint is. Now, what you should keep in mind is that the thicker the paint, obviously better for long-term durability, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better paint job. It is just an indication of whether or not they have a consistent paint and whether or not it's thick enough to endure long-term use. So right away, I'm going to use this paint thickness gauge to measure the thickness in microns. 205 in the hood, 121 on the front fender, 123 in the front door, and let's check the back here for a second. 117. So first of all, you want the paint thickness to be between 100 and 180 microns. Most Asian products and Japanese products are around 110 to 130. So this fits right into the same range as Toyota products. I did notice though, thankfully, that the hood is a little bit thicker than normal, which is a good thing because at 200 microns, it's almost 50–60% thicker than the rest of the panel here. And that will allow the hood to survive, stones and so forth hitting the hood on the highway drive. So actually Hyundai was very smart by making the paint job on the hood side thicker than the rest of the body. So paint thickness is a good indication of whether or not they knew what they were doing when engineering the paint job for this car. The second thing I really like about the IONIQ 6 is the overall design. Now, in case you didn't know, Hyundai was smart enough to hire away some of the most talented designers from around the world, from the likes of BMW and Audi, and they all work for Hyundai now, and they have the freedom to do something very different. And therefore, you can see the fruit of their work because this doesn't look like anything else on the road. Apparently, this design was inspired by 1920s and 1930s Streamliner, which is a really retro-looking train. And so you got kind of a retro feel, but also mixed in with a modern design, something that most designers and engineers have not been able to do until this IONIQ 6 has showed up. I think it's a beautiful design. It kind of looks like a liftback, but it's actually a sedan, so the trunk opens over here. The whole thing doesn't lift up, yet it is still affordable, but the overall design is such that it looks like a very expensive model. So I love the exterior. Now let's take a look into the inside. So this kind of retro/modern mixture and combo design carries on to the interior with beautiful layout, 12.3 inches times 2 screens. But look at some of these interesting patterns right here, as well as this kind of winglet, they call it. Again, mimicking maybe kind of retro aircraft type of design. So I think the inside is absolutely beautiful. Which brings me to the third point, because as an engineer, I like simple design, but it also needs to be functional and needs to be practical. So here we have a beautiful design, as I mentioned, but at least we still get buttons. Unlike in Tesla models or in most electric cars these days, we get a physical button for volume control and some of the other buttons for media and for navigation. And then we get kind of, in this case, a haptic style a touch panel that's actually quite sensitive and very quick to respond. So you have a good combination of buttons, some touch panels, and then 2 big 12.3 inch screen. A far cry from Tesla style, which has a single panel and everything has to be adjusted using that screen. So I think Hyundai has done a great job of mixing modern design with modern functionality, because we still get enough buttons to make it simple and very practical, yet it has the latest technology for almost everything you can think of. So now I'm on the road with the IONIQ 6, and I'm going to tell you that this is the best part of this vehicle. It's my fourth reason why I really like this car, because for the first time, they actually built in a good road feel in terms of the steering, the suspension, and also the calibration of all the things that come together. I actually can feel the road with this steering, even though it's actually electric steering. And if I put on the sport mode, it actually feels pretty good because the steering gets heavier and more predictable. And this is one of my biggest complaints about all of the other electric cars, because they have no feel at all. Their steering is numb and it's just absolutely not fun to drive. Other than that, all electric cars have a really brisk acceleration. So this thing is very fast, from 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds. But more than that, the steering is crisp, it feels European, dare I say even Porsche-like in terms of feel, and it provides me with an actual fun to drive factor that is missing in so many other electric cars. And they've done all this without compromising the ride quality, as well as its ability to be very compliant over some rough road. whoever designed the suspension pieces and calibrated the combination of tires and wheels and all that are absolutely first class. And I think that shouldn't surprise me because they hired away some of the best engineers from the likes of BMW, and therefore it does truly feel European, and there's nothing else in this price range that handles as well or feels as good as this IONIQ 6. The fifth positive thing is the amazing range and the fast charging capability, something that Toyota and Lexus messed up with their product because their models do not have the same amount of range that we get in something like IONIQ 6. In fact, in this model, we get anywhere from 435 kilometers all the way to 581 kilometers if it's a two-wheel drive. Obviously, when it's a four-wheel drive, you have less range, but regardless, you have one of the best range. And also, the fast charging capability makes it a lot easier to top up your battery. And once again, this is where Hyundai excels compared to Toyota or Lexus, which doesn't have the fast charging capability. But here in IONIQ 6, the charging capability is impressive. So let me look at my data so I don't get the number mixed up here. But if it's a rapid charging, you can go from 10 to 80% in as fast as 18 minutes. If it's a more common 50 kilowatt charger, then it takes 73 minutes. But even with a level 2 charger, which is what most of us will be able to use, you can charge from 10% to 100% in 7 hours. So it's actually really quite amazing charging capability. So at the end of the day, if you're just running out of juice and you want to go to a fast charger, you can just hook up for 10 to 15 minutes and you can have tremendous amount of capability to be able to drive some more. So I think both the range and the fast charging capability are impressive on this model. The sixth really positive thing about this IONIQ 6 is all the cool technology. It does have vehicle to load system, so you can actually charge an external power supply, so you can power anything from a laptop to a lighting equipment, whatever you can reverse charge to an external device. So that's something unique to this model. But also the regen system has quite an interesting feature. So I can actually change the regen by using this paddle shifter here up and down. And there's 4 levels of it. And at the lowest regen setting, this car basically coasts like a normal car. I can't even tell that it's using regen braking at all. Finally, you get advanced parking system as well as advanced adaptive cruise control that is using artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is something that is not in many other competitors' cars. So it's able to go in and out of lane changes automatically by trying to figure out your driving character. So those are just some of the features I've noticed in this IONIQ 6. There's a lot more technology built in this vehicle, but for the price that you pay, I'm just shocked at how much of the latest technology features you get, including artificial intelligence. The seventh and the last very positive thing about IONIQ 6 is attractive pricing and a value proposition, because here in Canada, base model starts at just under $55,000, which still qualifies for government rebate. In the US, just below $43,000. Now in the US, because this is built in Korea, it doesn't qualify for rebate anymore, but the pricing is very attractive for what you get, the amount of technology you get, all of the cool features, the design, and actually really good packaging. And from what I can tell from both inside and outside, also very good manufacturing quality. I think the pricing is extremely attractive. I would definitely buy this over the Model 3 from Tesla. And even though Toyota doesn't have a direct competitor to this model yet, because right now the BZ4X is a crossover or a hatchback style versus a sedan version, regardless of that, I would still take this over the BZ4X as well, just because it drives better and it's a beautiful design inside and out. So what do you think of the new IONIQ 6? Do you guys like it better than the IONIQ 5, which by the way has won the Utility Car of the Year here in Canada? Or do you prefer some other competitor's model? I'm curious about your comments. I think you don't need to worry about the quality anymore of Hyundai products. They're long-lasting, and even the long-term reliability has been excellent. If you can give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and subscribe if you haven't done so, I would truly appreciate it. But for now, I'm going to sign off because I'm going to go and drive the IONIQ 6 some more. So I look forward to doing even more drive with this. But I'll see you in the next video.